elaborate slide deck. And I have no slides today except for one. I have two. You're looking at one. The second one I'll show a little bit later on. So this is not a day where we talk about flashy images and we kind of walk through ideas. We're going to do it a little bit differently, and I'm just going to have a conversation with you about some of what I've learned over the last semester and share a little bit about how are we going to connect the pieces at this university. And I'm going to share some of my own observations, some of my own feelings about what I see, what I've experienced. And I believe I'm echoing back, I think, some of what you're thinking and feeling as well. So over the last 2 semesters, I've been listening to a number of conversations, and this is what I'm hearing. Tim, there are too damn many initiatives. I believe there's 10 of them. I don't know what they are, and I don't know how they work together, and I'm getting lost in all the initiatives. That's what I'm hearing. I'm also hearing, Tim, in addition to the 10 initiatives, I'm hearing something about wigs. I have no idea what a wig is. I'm sure they're important. But they are the university's goals, and there's 3 of them, I believe. I don't know what they are, and I don't know how they're related to the 10 initiatives. Again, I'm getting lost. I've also heard, Tim, the plan looks and sounds good. I have no idea what my role is in the plan. I don't know how I connect to the plan. And then, finally, for some of you in this room, there is reluctance to get behind the plan. There is reluctance. And a part of the reluctance, I believe, is because you don't understand the plan, how it all works together, and that's our fault, because we haven't communicated it clearly. Some of you are reluctant to get on board with the plan because you don't understand it. Some of you are reluctant to get on board with the plan because you were not directly involved in the development of the plan. Some of you are reluctant to get on board with the plan, not because you don't want to necessarily, you don't know how to. And then some of you are reluctant to get on board with the plan because resources are allocated to areas that you perceive are not related to academic quality. And this is what I've listened to, and this has been a good experience. The last semester, this is what I've been listening and hearing. So over break, I thought, okay, we need to do something. I've heard loud and clear what I believe you're telling me, and we've got to address this. And I thought we would spend time today talking about the ideas and pulling them together. There are 3 basic questions that I want to answer for you today. These are 3, and they're going to appear simple, but they are complex questions. But I need everyone in this room to hear the message about these 3 questions. Number 1, who are we as an institution? What is our identity? Because that's a loaded question. Who are we? The second question is, why is our work important? Why is it critically important? I think we underestimate our work and the value of our work, especially to our students and our community. And number 3 is, where are we going? So I want to answer those questions. Where are we going, and what is your role as we move forward? So I'd like to begin with this question about who are we? There's a variety of different ways of answering this, but here's how I've attempted to tackle this. First and foremost, and I think this is very important, we are a teaching institution. Our job every day, we are committed to developing our students to their fullest potential. They come into the room and sometimes they are less prepared than we would like them to be. But our job and our commitment is to develop them to their fullest potential with the time that I have. And my job and our job is to make sure that they're able to navigate life in a world that is rapidly changing, to the point where we don't have that all figured out. but we know we've got to develop them in a manner that's going to allow them to be able to adapt to that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not a liberal arts institution. Those are fine institutions. I graduated from one. They are fine. They are usually privately funded. They are usually embedded in communities, and they don't have the responsibility to improving the communities. Some do, but a lot of them don't have that regional connection. And then, and finally, they have fewer professional programs. Liberal arts universities and colleges, they're moving more into professional programs to remain competitive, but their strength is in the liberal arts. The second thing that we're not is a research university. We are not a university where the primary responsibility is to conduct research, like it is at Research One universities. That is not who we are, and that is not what we are about. We are also not a community college. We are not a community college because of the degrees that we award to our students. Our faculty, many of them, have terminal degrees, which are the highest degree in their respective fields, and they are responsible for conducting scholarship, research, and creative activity. At the community college, that is not the work that they do. But the research that we do at this institution, because we are a teaching institution, the research that we do and our scholarship and our creative activity that we engage in is our own professional development, and it is making sure that we are at the top of our field always, because it is constantly changing, that when we step into a classroom and when we teach, we can guarantee and assure our students that they're getting the highest quality education possible, because as a faculty member, I'm engaged in a scholarly process. The second reason why scholarship is important to all of us at this institution is because it is a pedagogical tool that professors and teachers use to connect their content to their students and the students to the content. And I refer to this as research-infused teaching. You take your scholarship and you use it as a tool to make the connections for your students. And we do that, and I think we do that incredibly well here. In fact, I know we do that well here. So first and foremost, we are a teaching institution. The second part of our identity is we are regional and we are comprehensive. Regional means that we are responsible and have a commitment and an obligation to improving the life of Pueblo and southern Colorado. We have needs in the areas of health and wellness. We have needs in the areas of trying to diversify the economic development of our region, transitioning from a traditional manufacturing economy into a vibrant set of economies that are based on the knowledge economies and the creative economies that create a vibrant community where we want to belong and live. And third, there is a need in our community to have a higher quality early childhood through college and beyond, a connected set of systems, educational systems that serve our community incredibly well. Those are the needs. And we, the men and women in this room, I believe we're trying to solve those problems and to meet those regional needs, among others. There's another point here. Comprehensive university. What does it mean to be a comprehensive university? Comprehensive university means that we offer liberal arts programming and professional programs. We do both. We provide a rock-solid set of liberal arts courses that are part of our general education, but not always. We have liberal arts degrees that I'm very proud of, and we have a set of professional programs that are also impressive. And what we do well here is we connect the liberal arts and the general ed to the professional degree programs and vice versa. That is what we do. So we are, a part of our identity, we're a teaching institution, we are regional, and we are comprehensive. The third way for us to talk about who are we as an institution is by talking about our students. And in the past, we have said that we are an Hispanic serving institution, and we are. But that is a label. That is only a label. More importantly, who do we serve? And we serve the following. We serve a large population of working class students who tend to be non-affluent. They are diverse, and they are not as prepared for college as we would like them to be. But ladies and gentlemen, that is who we serve. I do not see that changing. Look around Pueblo in southern Colorado. This is our community. These are our students. And this is the group we're going to continue to serve. It is a large population of working class students. Many of them low income, they are diverse, and they are not as prepared for college as we would like them to be. For many of our students, and I think we do this well, they come to us and they feel alienated from you and us. They feel alienated from the content, and they feel alienated from the higher education system. On day one, that's how they're feeling. But what we do very well is we mitigate that alienation. We pay attention to them, and we begin showing them, here's what we're about, and here is who you are about to become through that developmental process. And something else about our students. There are many students in our lives. They're in your offices, they are in our organizations, and they're in the classroom. Many of them are going to be okay. We do not have to worry about them. They're going to make it. But there are a large majority of students that are with us who are not going to be okay without an intervention. And that intervention is us working together. And you know who these folks are. You see them all the time. They simply are not going to be okay without us working with them. So we are their lifeline. We are their future livelihood. It is dependent on us. And again, I think we do this well. I'm going to give you a couple of examples today, if I can find them in my mixed notes here. Give me just a second. I receive a lot of emails from students, and I'm going to share a couple of those emails today and probably embarrass a couple of individuals who are with us. One email came in to me and said, Dear President Mottet, she introduces herself. And she said, and this is a faculty member, Dr. Van Winkle. I saw you here. Dr. Van Winkle, where are you? Right over here. From the Department of English and World Languages. She writes, when I came back from chemotherapy and 6 surgeries, Dr. Van Winkle was one of my first professors. I had forgotten how to write. I had forgotten everything. Dr. Van Winkle was patient and very kind. I know of no other professor who would take the time to sit down. We all know that we would, but this is from her world. No other professor who would take the time to sit down with me twice and twice more, go over the same paper. Just to be clear, Dr. Van Winkle went over my paper 4 times. Who does that? Is what she writes. She continues on. I know of no other professor with the kind of temperament and patience to give a struggling student honest and kind feedback. The type of feedback that motivates a student as opposed to shutting them down. Who invest their time, even when they're overworked, to help a previous student who can't quite think right. If it wasn't for this incredible kindness and compassion, I would not have been able to proceed with my degree. That's one example from a student. That was for Kevin Van Winkle. Thank you. I don't know if Dr. Benetti is with us today. Dr. Benetti? Got it. How are you? A student writes, this went to Dr. Benetti, but I was copied on it. Yesterday, I was at Harvard for a medical school interview, and I had an opportunity to sit in on a case-based group learning activity for current Harvard medical students. Essentially, it was an example of the medical history and labs of a child with an enlarged liver. The biochemical content covered was related to the Cori cycle, glycogen synthesis, glycogen breakdown, and glycose transport, or something related to that. Despite the fact that I have taken your class nearly 2 years ago, and I had no time to review the material, I can contribute to the group of medical students. I actually contributed the idea that ended up being the correct answer. Mutation in GLUT2 transporter, of course. In some aspects, I felt more prepared than some of the current medical students. The student goes on, I want to be clear, to get to the point in my biochemistry knowledge was not easy. Dr. Bonetti, you asked a lot of your students, but discipline is worth the outcome. Without professors like you preparing students to go on to top-tier professional schools with the expertise that rivals or surpasses that of students from Ivy League schools. Even if I didn't get into Harvard School of Medicine, this experience was valuable in that it raised my confidence in that CSUP in general and you in specific played a pivotal role preparing me to be a leader in healthcare. So folks, when I talk about our being the lifeline of our students, those are two examples of how we are the lifeline for our students, and I think help define who we are as an institution. A teaching institution, a regional comprehensive, and we work with a population of students that are working class, as I mentioned, non-affluent, etc. Another way that we define ourselves about who are we as a university is based on where we're located. We are located in Pueblo, Colorado. Recently, Doug Eskew, who is a professor in the Department of English and World Languages, he had a manuscript that was published in an edited collection of essays called Shakespeare in the 99%. Professor Eskew's essay is titled Shakespeare, Alienation, and the Working Class Students. He writes in his essay, sometimes at an academic conference, I'll mention that I work in Colorado. People usually respond with something like, oh, I love Colorado, or Colorado is so beautiful. I agree with both of those sentiments, and I always tell them that I agree. I tell them how fortunate I am to live and work in the state of Colorado. But here's what I do not tell them. I don't work in the part of Colorado they are thinking about. The Colorado of pine forest, ski resorts, and brewery tours. I work in southern Colorado in the city of Pueblo, on the dry southeastern plains, culturally, geographically, and economically isolated from the wealthier parts of the state. It's dry down here, and poor, and decidedly unwhite. Pueblo is not Boulder with its Buddhist university and Google campus. It's not Denver with its housing crunch and ramen shops. It's not even Colorado Springs with its military bases and mega churches. And he goes on. I think with few words, Professor Eskew has done a beautiful job of beginning to describe the part of Colorado that we call home and that our university is embedded in this community. We live and work in a community that I feel is stigmatized. Pueblo has been stigmatized, and it impacts every aspect of our university. Other people have told us who we are other people have defined and labeled us as stigmatized, and I believe we've internalized that stigma. Irving Goffman writes about this, and I remembered reading Irving Goffman's work when I was at William Jewell College in Kansas City, Missouri as an undergraduate. I read his work on stigma. And he talks about when you are stigmatized, you internalize it, and you have what is called a spoiled identity. I believe we have been stigmatized. And I believe we have internalized that stigma. And I believe our stigma is the result of our being a steel mill town, having working class people live here. We are non-affluent, we are diverse, and I believe that other people have labeled that as something that is not good. And I believe we have believed them who've labeled us, and we've internalized it, and we don't feel good about who we are as citizens of this community, or even as an employee of this university. And growing up as a young gay man in rural, poor Iowa, I understand the spoiled identity, and I would say many of you understand spoiled identity as well. And I would argue that you've been working years to overcome your spoiled identity. And so it is time for us, as we think about who are we, a teaching institution, regional comprehensive. We work with our students, which is a privilege, and we're located here. We need to begin to take that stigma and turn it around and make it the best thing we've got going for us. The best thing, thank you. So the best thing that we've got going for us, folks, is that we are located in Pueblo, Colorado. The best thing we've got going for us is that we live in a steel mill town, and we live with families who are working class, who are non-affluent, who are. I don't want to glamorize poverty at all, but we are non-affluent. We are diverse. We have a great opportunity, and what I want us to do is to turn that and to make it a really good thing for us. And I had written it down, and it sounded better than what I just said. Here's what I wanted to say. Becoming the People's University honors and recognizes a people who are not afraid to work. There is great pride in working and working hard. And we are a university community who has worked hard and done good work. I think that is important for you to know, is we have worked hard. At the end of last semester, I looked at us. We did not look good. My team looked like hell, as I did. And I know all of you weren't pretty either. That is a reflection of we've worked hard, and we've done really good work. And other people have told us that that's not good. Other people have written a story about us. And that has got to change. And so another way that I think about this is again, it goes back to growing up when the word queer used to be used as a word that used to hurt people like me. And the gay community, what they did beautifully is they took the stigma of queer and they turned it around and they made it a point of pride. Today, to be queer because of the community and how you take a symbol and you turn it on its side and you make it something that is a point of pride, that has transformed my community. We've got to do that with our community. So this is the work that's in front of us. That is our identity. Who are we? And I don't see us straying from this. Teaching, regional comprehensive, working class students, and we're in Pueblo, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. We're also a part of the Colorado State University system, and I'm very proud that we're a part of a network who gets us and is getting us more and more. They're getting us better, and you'll see that as the chancellor talks to us this week. I want to move on to question number 2. Why is our work important? One of the things that we do well here is we help students become who they need to become. It's not who we want them to be. It's not who moms and dads want their sons and daughters to become. It's not what the peer group wants them to become. But what we do well is we get into the heads of our students and we find out, who are you? Who do you need to become? And then we help them become who they need to become. It's no longer about mom and dad. It is no longer about the peer group. What we do is have the honest conversation with them. Nancy Tour is the chair of the Board of Governors for the Colorado State University system. She visited us last semester. Many of you were able to interact with Nancy Tour, who is the current chair, who is also one of our greatest champions. She brought her boyfriend, and she calls him her boyfriend. She brought her boyfriend to campus, and they came to a game, a football game. His name is Todd. Todd used to be a principal at a charter high school for students who didn't fit in anywhere else. And what he noticed, and I thought this was really interesting, he told Nancy on the way home his observations of what's going on here. And then Nancy told the entire Board of Governors this narrative, and she continues to share this narrative. There's a young man on our color guard in the marching band. I don't know his name, but he's in the color guard of the marching band. And he dresses with makeup on and lots of sparkle. And he came into, which is that's what they wear in the color guard. The band came onto the alumni deck during a game, and he was there with his flag and doing everything that you do with the flag, but expressing himself in a way that Todd recognized. He said, this young man was in his height of glory, expressing himself on who he really is, and it was so not an issue here. And he was allowed to do that. And I thought that is really characteristic of the important work that we do. We allow our students to be who they need to become, and we help them on their way. The important work that we do is through our general education. You've heard me say before, this is the good stuff. General ed is the good stuff. Through our general education, and I have to add, through all co-curricular activities, whether it is everything in the student life, in the student affairs realm, and the athletic realm, coupled with our general education and our liberal arts programming, our students develop transferable skills that will allow them to function in life. They learn how to make decisions. They learn how to lead. They learn how to solve problems. They learn how to communicate in a manner to influence people, and they learn how to communicate to reach understanding with other people. That is the important work we do in general education and through co-curricular activities. What we do through that experience is, and I've shared this before, we allow students to know who are they, who do they need to become, where are they in society, and all the structures around them. There's a lot of structures in place to keep people in their place. In general ed, we help students understand how the world works, and we help students to understand where are they and the trappings of all the structures, and we help them make decisions. Are you okay there, or do you want to ascend? Do you want to navigate those structures, and how do you navigate those structures? That is the important work we do in general education. And then students, they move into degree programs, and in degree programs they learn skills such as how to build, how to discover, how to understand, how to design, because we have experiential learning, and they do this. When you take that work coupled with the general education, coupled with all things co-curricular, our students leave here able to navigate work and life in a world that is changing. And I personally am very proud of that work. What I'm most proud of is that we increase our students' ability, we increase their capacity for empathy. Look at a student when you first meet them on day one and when they walk across the stage. Think about what you've done to that student, where he or she has the ability to take a perspective that they would not have been able to do 4, 5, 6 years before. They feel differently, and they feel differently about things that never registered before. That's because of all the work that we do here that all of you are responsible for. So we do very good work. Where are we going? This is the third question. Where are we going? The last year and a half, no, not the last year, we did a hell of a lot of SWOT analyses. What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? A SWOT analysis is what is current state? What is reality? To move forward, we have to understand what reality is. And you told us, and I'm going to summarize one word for each of these, and I need you to validate this. What is the primary strength of the university? I argue it is experiential learning. I think it's something we are proud of, and I think it's something that we do, and we do well. That is our strength. What is our weakness? I think our weakness is probably systems and automation, and we're working on that. I believe systems and automation. What are the opportunities? It is our working class students. That is our opportunity. And what is our threat? I believe our number one threat, and this is my interpretation, is our collective psychology. It is our collective psychology that has been festering, and we've been living in our heads with this collective psychology that is paralyzing us. And I believe it stems from where we're located in our history. There is an internalized psychology here that is paralyzing, where I believe, and these are my interpretations. I need you to validate it. You say either you're on something, Mottet, or you're just totally off track here. But we've internalized that we do not believe we can pull this off. When I talk to people about what we are about to do in the months and the years ahead, between now and 2028, and that we've been working on, we do not feel we can actually pull this off. I see it in your faces. And I believe in all of us and what we can do collectively. And so our greatest threat is this idea of what's in our head, that we're not deserving of it, we're not worthy of it, and those are kind of larger issues. But I need us to check each other on this, because I think our collective psychology is dangerous. I think it is threatening, and I also believe it impacts how we treat each other at the university. It is our interactions with each other. And so I want us to be aware of how we treat each other. And you might think, I want you to be happy. That's what I want. I want us to come to work, to feel good about the work that we're doing, and I want you to be happy. Because sometimes I go home and I'm not happy, and I'm saying, I need to be happy. And I'm happy when you're happy. You're happy when your kids are happy, right? If you have aging parents, you're happy when your aging parents are happy. As the president of a university, and as this cabinet, we are happy when our employees are happy. And you just can't, there's a lot of work we've got to do to be happy. But it starts with how we treat each other. And I believe a part of how we treat each other is a product, a manifestation of our psychology, which I think is our threat. So, we've developed a plan that addresses the strengths, the weakness, the opportunities, and the threat. And I don't think we've done a good job of articulating what that plan looks like. So the takeaway is going to be, I think, clear with the following slide. We have only 3 goals that we need to be working on, and you're in the middle. Your job is to figure out how you connect these pieces together. And here's what it looks like. The first part of our plan moving forward is expanding our appeal. It is cultivating an environment where students want to be, period. When students and families are thinking about where do I want to go to college, CSU-Pueblo has got to be elevated. And you elevate it by, we have got to create something incredibly special here. And I believe we're working hard to do that. But it is expanding our appeal. This is the enrollment goal. Cultivating an environment where students want to be. Number 2 is enhancing student success. When students come here, they graduate from here and they're successful. We've got to figure out a learning and a support system. We've got those systems. We've got some holes. We need to fill the holes, and those systems need to hum a little bit better so we have greater student success. So we've got to find a way of creating an environment where students feel successful and therefore are. And then finally, you heard today Jamie Fall talk about this idea of developing people. I need you, all of you, to want to be here. I need you to want to be here and to be a part of the work that's in front of us. And that's my goal. I want you to be here, and I want you to be engaged in work that you feel good about when you go home at the end of the day. And you say, I'm at the right place, at the right time in my career, and it's working for me. And so we've got it. This is the employee satisfaction piece. It's cultivating an environment where you as faculty and staff long to belong, learn, teach, and grow. That is what this one is about. So in the middle is where you are. How do I fit? There's not 10 initiatives, there's 3 goals. Increasing our appeal, making sure that our students are successful, and each of us working to support each other and developing each other, and the university taking responsibility for developing you as well. And so I'm going to give you a very clear takeaway. Something I want you to think about. For expanding appeal, I would like you to do one extra thing, no matter how small, to enhance a student's experience on this campus. I want you to do one extra thing, no matter how small, to enhance a student's experience on the campus. It's an extra good morning. It's advice on a class selection. It's a short conversation about a career trajectory, as examples. Number 2, I want you to help on enhancing student success. Do one extra thing, no matter how small, to help the student succeed. Study advice, test taking, a word of encouragement when it's needed. And for developing people, do one extra thing, no matter how small, to support a colleague. It's a gesture of kindness, encouragement, and offering assistance. This is how you fit into the mix of making sure we're expanding our appeal, we're enhancing student success, and we're developing our people. When I talk to our community, they always ask me, what can we as the community do to increase enrollment at this university? And I tell them this, and I know it falls on deaf ears. But it is the single most important thing that every community member can do, and that is to have a serious conversation with a high school student who is a sophomore or junior about going to college. That's every day what I tell the community to do. It will not cost you anything, but it's to have a serious conversation about what does it mean to go to college. And so today, I'm sharing with you what can you do, and you're thinking, that's too simple. That is way too simple, but it's not. When you take a collective conversation and you take a collective group and you've got them working toward one goal of enhancing our appeal, we elevate where we are. We have to elevate Pueblo at the same time, folks. So we've got a lot of work to do to help Pueblo. We've got to enhance student success, and we've got to develop our people. That is my message for today. So what I've tried to do is listen. I've heard you. Where do I fit in? How does this all work? This is how it works. this is how it fits together. And so this is the work that's in front of us. So we've got a lot of work to do this semester, but I'm looking forward to it. As I mentioned to you earlier today, the provost is delivering a message this afternoon between 1 and 3. The chancellor is on the campus Wednesday for a lunch open to all employees. We're closing down campus 11:30 to 1 on Wednesday to give everyone an opportunity to listen to the chancellor and to interact. And I think you're going to hear messages about the role of this institution and its importance in the state of Colorado and in the city of Pueblo. Our governors are behind us and supporting us. And that feels good. And then the dance party, for those of you who feel like it. That may not be all of you, and that is okay. But for those of us who do show up, we're going to have a good time. I want to thank you for being here today, for being a part of this. Rick and I are just coming back to work today felt really good. We woke up today and I just said, this is going to be a good day. And I'm proud of what we are collectively as a group of employees and the work that we're doing. And I hope what I've done today is to clarify who are we, why is our work important, and then where are we going. I wish all of you well. Thank you very much.